It's Missy Rene again, ready to do another basket. I've messed around here so much, I've just got to get started. The order needs to go out. So I bring you guys along with me. If you watched my first video, kind of give you more of a rundown of how I put them together. If you want to go back and view that, see more detail. Kind of a long video. Maybe this one will go a little bit faster. So today I'm making a fall natural grass pumpkin basket. And I'm going to start out with heather. Bought a bushel of heather and I'm going to line the back, basically line the back row with this. Be my back filler, and later I'll come in and add some more. Just please bear with me. I'm kind of new at making these videos and I'm learning. I'm sure y'all have plenty to say. You could comment in the bottom with little hints and tips to me what I need to be doing and not doing to help you. I do realize that I have a hard time of looking at the camera and not at the screen and myself. I try to cover it up, but then I can't see if I'm actually showing everyone what they need to see. So I'm just going to go with it, or else this is going to take me all day long. We got time. So just please forgive me. I'm trying to pick out the best ones. You have all different lengths and they kind of curve wrong ways. Anyways, the most of the product I'm using today is something you can pick up at Hobby Lobby, which makes it way more convenient. And I'm dipping my stems in my hot glue pot. I know a lot of you probably use a glue gun. I do too, but when I make these baskets, it's more simpler for me just to dip my stems or take my little skewer stick that I have and use. Kind of use the stick to kind of twirl the glue around the tip of it. Okay. And probably a good thing, I'm not going to talk very much because I've got to concentrate on what I'm doing here. I went ahead and put my floral moss, this green floral moss, down in my basket. Filled it up. Put a little short block of floral foam in here. I've glued that in place. Put glue on this side and the back side of my block of foam and set it down in there, and then push the wire frame and the, you know, this, I would call it grapevine twigs or whatever you call them, that they've wrapped it in. I took that and I push it against there and hold it for a little bit till that glue sets up. And I'm using Gorilla Glue. So far, it's the best hot glue brand that I know that works the best. So I'm trying to get the main backdrop form shaped right now. I want it to extend over the edge of the basket. I don't want my design to be straight up. It needs to come over and soften that. Some of this foam, I don't like it when it has these long strands on it. It looks like a piece of hair instead of a piece of foam or moss. You'll find out today that my words are a little crazy. Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not a definite on what you need to use, but that's pretty much what I'm going with. Here's some of the other products I'm using. I'm using wheat spray. I'm using green mimosa spray. Green mimosa spray. And then, of course, my natural pumpkin pick. And the heather that I've lined up in the back. I'm going to use... They call this a pampas spray. It's more like dried I guess a dried version of pampas. It's not really dried, it's artificial, but it looks like what pampas grass would look like in its drier stages. And then next I've got this brown raffia, a spray of that. And honestly, never really cared for these. But then I started thinking, you know, these modern day styles are going a little more different shapes than what my era grew up in. That didn't even sound right, said that my era grew up in. Huh. But, okay. Let's see, next I am going to put in my wheat spray. And try to line them up to fill up the gaps in between. I need to find my height where I need to cut that. I want to leave some of these leaves in there for filling. And I don't always care for leaves. Sometimes you can pull them off. If I can push them up as high as I can get them. This is a design I had last year that went well, so I restocked it in my shop and it's selling again. And I remember trying to slide these leaves up on these stems. It's tight. Sometimes you can't do it. You can only get so high up. But a little bit of greenery up in there is going to help. So I'll just put that where I can. Put that in there. Okay, I might need to poke a hole in that foam, floral foam, before I go to putting it in there. Kind of try to see if you can fluff these out. They come so flat. It's just part of their way they're supposed to look, but then they don't. You need to be able to see the individual little stems. See how flat these are? They're just like smushed. So if you go in and just pull it out a little bit, it's not going to stay totally, but it will help give you a little bit of volume. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to slide these leaves up. That stem is thicker. Probably needs to be. Just excuse me, I keep looking at my picture that I had printed off last year. Just as a reminder of what all I put in it and where I placed it at. Have a shop. It's good to take photos, print them off, keep them in a binder. It will help you. I used to have to just go back on my phone, go back to my Etsy shop and look at my pictures and zoom in. If you've got a bestseller that you keep reposting and it's selling, it's best to do that. Kind of helps you too. It's like you have your own portfolio of what designs you've created, and you're able to, you know, give a customer, in case you go try to do a craft market or something like that, you can show them. Okay. I know it's best to work in odd numbers, but I think on these I ended up putting in 4 piece just to balance that out. And once again, I don't know how high up I'll be able to slide these little grass leaves. They're not grass leaves, they're just, this basket is considered fall grasses. That's why I'm referring to it as that. Apologies. It needs to be as short as possible. And I think I'm going to, what I call it, pre-drill my hoe with my little needle nose pliers. Helps to do that. So you don't have to push so hard and mess your foam block up. these to come down a little bit lower because you've got to get that curve shape going. Taller in the back middle, and going shorter on the sides. Okay. Try the next one. It may not work either. Only so far. And y'all can judge which stems you want to save that you cut off that you can use for other projects. You can add them to certain florals if you need length in another project that you're designing. I know you can't keep them all, but it helps to save some to have as a backup. I mean, you can spend money and buy the floral pick machine to add those for length to your stems, but just do like the creators that made all these and just create your own stem. If you don't have the luxury of having the machine. Okay, I may not want that piece if it's going to come out straight out. Maybe it's another piece is coming in front. We'll hold that back. But see, these are working as filler to block the light from shining through. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put in my brown Raffia heather. See, this stem, I have more if I need, but I think it's just 3 of them. My tallest piece here, I need to find out where I need to place that. It was that pretty high, so I cut it about right there. Go ahead, drill me a little hoe. Always take your stems, move them around, fluff them up, get them to bend where how you need them. Because during shipment and just when they put them on before display in the stores, they're all just clustered together, pushing against one another. They're not in the shape that is natural or that they need to be. Okay, this one was pretty tall, but and you can kind of bend it towards the back so they're not all just falling frontwards. Right now my stand here, it's not cooperating right. It's not made to be used more. I've got it to do wreaths, and then I've leaned more towards doing baskets, something if different to offer. And it just wants to fall right through. If I push it together, it'll kind of support that. But when it's hanging on the door, you don't want your florals, you want them to come out, but not too far frontwards. When these are paper wrapped, you can sometimes just pull them. You get what you need and then trim it down. I need 2 more hoes for my second and third pieces. Poor little things. They're so rough looking, but I guess that's supposed to be the look. They're not supposed to be perfectly round. even though you try to recreate the design that you've made in the past, no two are never going to be the same alike. Kind of like us, huh? God made human, but we're all have our own different characteristics. Find my hole that I drilled. Okay. Kind of have to remember, these have these little cute little curly cues on them. And I want to make sure that they're being seen. But through all the process of putting everything in I need to put in, they might get hid. And I might have been standing in front of it the whole time. Probably. Sorry. I'm trying to not look at the camera so much so that way I can not have such a long video this time. My last video was way too long and I didn't want to cut parts out even though I said I was going to try to. I didn't really because I didn't want to leave anything out. In a tutorial, it's hard. You want to make sure everyone can see. So if I'm trying to learn something, I don't want to miss a little hint or tip someone said that might have mattered to me. Ooh, this one's a little bit hard. Sometimes you have to cut on them, make little indentions, and then go back and cut on the other side. You can sometimes bend them back and forth too, or just snip half off, cut that plastic, snip off on the other side of it, get closer to that wire that's inside so you ain't got such a thick thing to go. My goodness. Maybe because it's the very middle piece, it's a little bit thicker. Okay, I might as well just measure my other one and cut it. See, that one's, the outside ones are a lot simpler. Put this bigger one in the middle. Okay. Sometimes you have to place them up there and turn them and see which way the stems are going that works the best. Those little curlicues are wanting to grab on to everything. Because remember, no two are alike. Try to buy good florals and greenery and stems that have wire in them so you can bend them, work with them the shape that you need. I think I'll cut just a little bit more off the end of that one. And then sometimes you can take these individually and turn them, twist them, turn them, as long as you don't work it too loose off of here. To get them to go, if they're not going at the angle that you need them at. I'm going to work that one so it'll come out a little ways more and not just hide with all the rest of them. And then your other ones, you can bring them forward, make them intertwine, so you don't look like you just have layers. Even though you kind of are working in layers, you blend them as you go. and I'll go back later and add some more heather in to bring what I have in the back towards the front and just combined in there. Okay, now that I've got my green mimosa, my brown raffia heather here, this heather back here, and my wheat. Now I'm going to just work on the pampas grass stems. Now these are just, they're long, tall, excuse me, I dropped one right off of there. See how they just come right off? They are tight fitting, so may have to glue that one back on. I don't know. They've got little ridges on them that kind of helps them stay in place. We'll have to save that one for later and put him back on. But, you know, I think this arrangement here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. I've got me a little portfolio binder here with, you know, all of my designs in here. Not all of them. Most of them. The ones that I want to redo. See, I've got my picture here that you would see on Etsy if you go on my shop. And I'm trying to look at this and remember exactly the placements and what items you have. Helps you to know what to make sure to keep in stock too. I think this arrangement here, I didn't mix it in towards the back. I just had a few down here at the bottom to bring in some softness. So I'm going to go ahead and work some of my heather in now. This one's a little bit too curved, more than I want it to, and there isn't really much you can do about that because there's no wire on the tip of that. You couldn't really steam it. These are those little tiny, tiny, intricate little foam balls that are glued on there that I said I would not use again and did, and that's what I mentioned in my other video. Because they really look pretty from a distance. And I got hot glue on me again. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Okay. Twist parts of that towards the back. Did not look good. Okay, now this piece, I just knocked that off there. I'm glad that did that. That way I know that that piece is loose and it needs to be some glue added to it. I don't think when they make them in the factory that they even put glue on these. They just kind of stick them on there and hope they'll stay. And then could have been part of my fault for trying to go in there and twist them. And then the heather stems, remember I told you last time that you need to kind of trim up the little leaves on them if they start getting frayed edges on them. It's kind of hard to get all of it, but catch most of it that's in your view. One thing is definitely going to make your florals look like they are artificial if they've got frayed threads and certain things showing on them that shouldn't be showing, such as if there was glue where the flower is glued to the stem, etc. No leaves in nature are going to have all these little strings hanging off of them. At least not that I know of. Some of them I may have to just go ahead and cut them off if they're sticking in the way. And you may end up using the whole bush of these heathers. Okay, it's like that set of leaves. I just pulled the leaves straight off of that. Slide your little pieces can slide up. This is the little pieces down here, the second little piece that they add on here that looks so scraggly, but it works as a filler, a softener to break it up from going from this piece straight to a wire. You push that up there up against it and it softens up that line. Just kind of play with it and work with it the best you can so it has you have a better visual of it. Let me trim my wire down a little more. Remember to put your pieces in so your eye have movement going in a curve, coming at you, but yet not too far overhanging. Just somewhat slightly overhanging the basket coming towards you. Sorry, gotta give my leaves a haircut. Some of them are wrinkled up more than I want them to be. You can buy a steamer and steam your florals. Take out the wrinkles if you need. Which I may have to go in here and do. Okay, sorry, I'm taking this off so I can, sometimes you got to get in here and work with it. And then I'll cut that stem down as short as I want it. Since it's wire, you can kind of push it on up in there too. Doesn't necessarily have to go into the foam all the way. I may have to add some more other pieces in there. Hold your pieces up too and just look at them to try to help pick the best one that you like. This one's a little fuller than the other ones. And then also to get your length, like that other piece, I cut it a little bit too long and I had difficulty getting it in because your glue starts setting up quick. Helps to get the direction ready to go in your hand when you go to dip it. You hold it. And looky there. That's okay because we got the glue, right? That's why I use my little skewer stick. So I can put glue on right where I need it. I mean, you could use your hot glue gun, but if I'm using my glue pot, then my hot glue gun would just sit there in the background melting all the glue, waiting on me to use it. And my glue pot just keeps it right in the same pot. I don't feel like... You want to think you're not going to waste as much glue that way, but then maybe you are, because you're probably dipping more glue on it than you would have put on there. But that's okay. Gives it more strength. Unless that extra weight starts adding up on your shipping weight. And that's not okay, because shipping is not cheap. That's why I try to offer it free in my shop if someone places an order, because sometimes it can cost more than the product to ship it, or half of the price of the product depending on what you purchased and the weight of it, where it's going to. Some states cost more than others. Okay, those leaves, I do not like them all right there like that. I'm going to have to work with them when I get done, make sure they're not where I don't want them. Okay, I need to go ahead and just put my pumpkin in. Star of the show. That way, I can have a better idea of what needs to go where. Okay, you kind of bend your wire a little bit, and I'm going to have to trim it down too. There's too much of it. Wouldn't hurt to have it all in there. And then, I almost thought I didn't get my ribbon out that I needed. See, this is what I'm going to wrap it with. It's kind of a frayed burlap. Let's see how easy this is to cut off some of it. Okay. Take him off. Make sure I get in here and work with him before it dries. Don't bend your wire too much, or it'll poke right back through the front of your basket. But yet, I want it to angle towards me so I can see it. But what if someone purchases this and they don't read the details about these are not intended for, I mean, not all of my baskets, but most of them are not intended for a door with a glass screen door on it due to the thickness. I mean, you can shut the door, but it may push against your arrangement and then not look very pretty from the street. Not that it's going to really damage it. It'll fluff back out when you open the door. Sorry, I got glue on that a while ago. Give them a haircut too. Okay. You know, I didn't really look at my pumpkin to get the best side I wanted to get, but that works. Now I've got this little curly cube coming through right here. That kind of looks strange because those are normally on a pumpkin, but you're going to wonder why the curly cube is behind it instead of coming off the stem. That's not what that one goes to. Okay. Now, these are one of the reasons why I say to save your stems, because I told you all ago, all these are just individual little pieces that are stuck to a long stem. And on some, see, here's another one that I have been using. You can see all the little pieces sticking out that just has little individual, just these little individual pieces stuck on each one. So if you save your stems, you can go back, and it's always good to have different sizes because you never know what size you're going to need. Like these while ago that I told you to save, I don't know if they will work on these. It's really tight. You can cram them on there. But then like the heather bushel, it has little tinier ones. But see, they're just too, I mean, I could put a lot of glue on there, make that work, but it's a little bit too thin. So I guess those other ones are just the right. Then you've got a longer piece to work with. So I'll get that in a little bit of glue. Stick that on there. I mean, don't touch your glue if it's really hot, but when you feel like it's kind of cooled off, it's just a little few seconds, and you can just wipe that excess off so it's not showing. You won't be able to get it all off, but the majority of it. You don't want a big old ball of hot glue sticking out there. People can see the mechanics. And I don't need the whole stem, I just need some, just to have a little bit of length. And you go in here and add some more little pieces where you need them. Soften that up. Make sure, turn it. You can always go in and when you're done and add your floral moss down in here at the base. Make sure you hide your floral foam and all the mechanics that you've done down in here. Soften that frame up because that wire frame is showing that they created the basket with. And another one. Make sure my wire stem will fit up in it. Okay, get a little bit of glue. Make me another one of my own. And that's how you save money too. If you'll buy bigger pieces, you may think they're expensive, but you go price the little smaller picks and it costs more to buy a smaller individual little item. And then just break it down, cut it up, use it how you need it. So then you have more to work on another project with. Arrangement. Okay, I want that back up in there behind. So he's not fluffed out as much as I want him to. He's pretty straight. Most of those on there are about the same size. There's some little that are just flat, little tiny. I can use those to go in, like if I need to just barely put a touch of it in there. Forward a little bit. I don't want them all just smashed together. Might need to get rid of those leaves. They're not cooperating. Or I can just tuck them back up in there. Still block the light and not go out towards the front, but have some greenery. Sometimes I worry how you play around with your pieces where they're arranged to get it to look just right where you're finally satisfied. You go to put another piece in and then you've moved it, and then you think, you know, customer's probably gonna be moving them around when they get them, and it's not gonna be right where you feel like it needs to go anyways. Now these smaller, flatter pieces may need a smaller stem. Yeah, I think I can use these wires for that. would just drip that glue right on myself. Mercy sakes. Okay. Those used to want to lay flat against each other too much. I need to work on this side, balance that out. I don't know if this piece is going to make that long enough. I have to cut another one. Well, it might be just right. That was so tight fitting, it may not even have needed glue on it, but just in case I go to pulling on it to try to get it like I want it, I don't want it to come back off. Some people go back with a blow dryer and go over their arrangement to get all the little glue strings off, but I would rather just pull them off as I go. Because when you do that with the blow dryer, it's like you're just melting them. What are you melting them to? They're not going to just totally disappear. Maybe you won't see them as much. Okay, sometimes you just got to back away. Now I can see I need some more of the pampas grass pieces right up in there. See if the stem is going to make it long enough. Yeah, I think it will. Remember to clean your glue up off of that best you can. Plus, I think it helps adhere to the stem more, to kind of twirl it around, wrap it, smash it down on there. These don't really fluff up, but just try. You know that you did it. Sometimes the glue that they create them with causes them to just stick together too. Not just only this type of floral, but other things. The ones that I've worked with. Okay, I'm going to go back behind. And just keep working with it till you're satisfied. When you back away and look at it, you'll probably never be fully satisfied, but you get the majority of it where it looks pleasing to the eye. Not so noticeable that, oh, you should have put this there and you should have put some more of that there. Got a big old gap on that side. You really notice it when you start taking pictures and hanging on the door, and then you put them on your computer, post your listing. And I'm talking to y'all like you're all shop owners, but you might just want to make this for your own door and not even have an Etsy shop. Okay, that was my empty spot right there. Do I want that, or do you want this in here? Nope. I think I need to bring some more. A lot of decision comes with being a florist, floral designer. Or just crafting, creating. You love it when you hear the sound of that foam crunching. You know you've made it. You can't see up in there where you're going with everything. You probably should have turned him. Don't turn him too much. It's too obvious. Another thing is working on this, I'm not able to see solid color back behind it to see where the light is actually going through. Of course, I know I have light coming in from the back side, from the door, the windows over there. But when you've got a solid, if it's on a solid dark door, you really notice it more of where your empty spaces are that should have been filled with something. Come back in with these towards the back. So will that be long enough? Maybe adding a little bit more different pieces than what the original design has in it, but it's like I said, every basket is different because every floral is different. Even though they're supposed to be the same type, every stem doesn't lay the same way. So when you go to design it, you're going to have different empty open areas that need to be filled. But we try to keep them consistent with what the picture is. I'm referring to everyone that has a shop because I'm the only one that's creating these on my shop. Me alone. I try to tease my girls sometimes about helping Mom. They need to start learning, so if I need them to help me make an order, they can. But they know Mom's going to be picky and going to nitpick every little one they make, which is probably true. I would probably look at it and critique it. I don't like to be critiqued, but then I turn around and do it to them. That's not right. But you want your customers to be satisfied with what they decided to purchase from you. It can be stressful shopping online. You're only going off of the pictures of what you buy. You don't know what it's going to actually fully look like in real life until it arrives at your door. But then I can say that when I make something, I can't fully capture how pretty it looks on the picture. You can try. Sometimes you feel like pictures will look better than what they actually do in real life, but then a lot of times you're so happy with how it turned out and you try to photograph it and the lighting is not right. It's a cloudy day. I know sometimes that helps. Then when the sun's too bright, that doesn't look good either, having too much light shining the shadows and whatnot. I'm not a photographer, but I'm learning what works best and what don't. Where my door is, it faces the west, so it depends on what time of the day that I'm trying to take pictures. But I can't portray what it really looks like in real life. So I guess if it's not really showing how pretty it is and someone decides to go ahead and purchase it, then they are surprised and they are happy that it looks way better than it did online. That's a bonus. So I know we want our pictures to look really good because that's the most important when you're selling online. positive thing is when they arrive and the customer is so happy because they look better than what they expected. Now this ribbon that I'm using, you can see it is pretty see-through. So it's not going to totally hide this piece of foam back here. So if I remember right, on the back side, I need to go in here and take some of my floral foam and see where the foam is showing through the green block of foam right up in here. You can poke some of this floral foam that I put down in here, the moss. Sorry about using my words right again. Glue that on there, kind of disguise it a little bit. It'd be hard to get all of it covered, but the majority of it, so then when you go to apply your ribbon on there, it won't be so noticeable. And y'all are going to see where my stash is. Under my table, I keep my box with my moss down in here. And you can only see my floor right now. It's just loaded. And not as bad. I've swept it 2 times so far, just trying to break these pieces off and put this one together. But I'm going to take a little bit of glue on my skewer stick here and just only apply that right there on that foam where there's gaps. And then I'll start trying to apply some moss to it. Kind of tuck it up in there. You don't want it sticking out too far out, because it's going to be noticeable that that's different than the rest of the basket if you do. Just kind of compact it down in there. Because that floral block foam is a little bit different color green than your moss. Okay, if you hear that phone ringing, that is a fax line phone, so I do not need to answer it. See what I'm doing right now, so I tried to explain it. Okay, you see I'm just putting my pieces of foam up in here. I'm trying to work that up in there. Because it could try to poke back out through the ribbon. It's not got, they don't have big hose in that, this little burlap design, but somewhat. That moss could work its way back through there. Just trying to tuck it down in behind the little grapevine twigs. There's stems. Don't know what would be the correct terminology for that. Okay, now you probably didn't notice while ago I didn't tell you that I was measuring my ribbon out while ago to the length that I needed to wrap around this. It's not really a skirt, but I call it a skirt. Okay, now I need to decide where the bow placement's going to be, so I can make sure that this piece wrapped around the seam is going to line up in the right place. I don't put the seam in the back because I don't want it showing. If someone's front door has a glass front window on it, okay, so my bow is to the side, it's on this side. So my seam can be either on this side of the loop of my bow or on, it can be over here on. So then the two loops coming out is going to be laying over top of that seam. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. You can kind of trim it up if you need to. This kind of ribbon wants to fray on you on the ends. So the only thing I don't like about it really, it's pretty and soft than the other burlap style you can buy. But there's a problem with looking frayed. Okay, I'm holding that where it is, and then I'm going to release one side of it so I can take this back off and get to the back here and run me some glue along some of these grapevine stems so I can adhere it. It won't move around and stay in place so it'll keep that foam block covered up the best I can. You don't want a lot because it's going to try to poke back through the ribbon. Just enough to just barely go across them so that glue will grab a hold of it and hang on to it. And when I cut my blocks, floral blocks, foams to put the florals in that I put down in here, I cut them 2.5 inches. I buy it in a big sheet, and then I'll cut strips of 2.5 inches, and then I'll go through there in 4 and 4. So 2.5 wide and 4 in length, 4 inches in length. And then, you know, they're already thick, probably about a couple inches thick, the sheets that you buy. It's cheaper to do it that way. Buy just a big sheet and trim them to the size you need. So, and you can get those at Hobby Lobby too. They don't ever go on sale. Okay, I don't know if my phone is just going to keep shutting off or if it will work now, but I just looked up and noticed that it had shut off. So, we'll continue. I hope it didn't cut out right where I was telling you something important. And there's a curlicue hiding down in there. I need to get him out of there before I cover him up with moss. I was just telling you I was putting moss back here behind while I had it in sight, knowing I needed to do that. You work that all down in there. You shouldn't have to glue it. It should stick to itself and underneath this wiring and between the florals. I don't really care for all these leaves back here. Sometimes I wish they would design them with different style of leaves or better quality of leaves. But they probably know that majority of people just pick them off and dispose of them anyways. Okay, I don't know why my camera shut off a while ago. Could have lost all the video. If I did, it wasn't meant to be. We will see. Oh, I need to just go back in later and take care of these before my phone shuts off again. I just want to get the majority of it before I forget, because this leaf is just already bent too much. I didn't like that anyways. I just have to go go in and design the product too. Not only design with your product. Pull everything down. Look like it's growing towards the light. And just pulling things off left and right. You can't get rough as I get sometimes. Guess it's a test, so I'll know which ones need to be taken care of. Like right then. Need to work on my bow. These little moss pieces out of the way. I need wire. Probably cut too much wire. I hate wasting. You want to have enough to be able to work with, but you don't want to get too much. Here's the part I don't care for, is when the natural fibers got too many dark pieces. Okay, this wire ribbon here, it's wired. Sometimes you can tell there's a right side and a wrong side, but this one pretty much goes both ways. Okay, talking too much, not being able, I don't know if you can see this piece right here. It has some thicker pieces up in there right here. This looks like, it's just really noticeable. Everyone else may not catch it as much as I do, but I know some of us will. I don't like these little darker areas. Well, this piece is going to get wasted because I'm going to trim that much off to get rid of that. Ribbon all twisted. You think you're going to trim off some dark spotted areas and then you end up finding more. Cut me a piece of wire, probably, I want to say 8 inches, but maybe 10. Just, that's why I'm saying I probably cut it way too long. Usually somewhere around 8 or 10. Get that twisted tight. You can go back and watch my other video. The first one I posted, it has more. The one that's talking about the fall peony basket. I have more detail in there. But I know I forgot to show you, when I make my bow, I put a little piece of jute twine over the top of my floral wire to cover that up. And I forgot to show you that part. tie it on there, tie it on the back side, cover over it, and there's another dark string. Sometimes you can go in there with a needle and work on those little fibers and pull those out of there if there's some dark pieces. But we have to understand too, it's a natural product. You're going to have those various colors in there. Trim that off, put you a little dab of glue over top of your knot you just tied, or the end pieces. Adhere it to the ribbon so you won't want to come back loose. Let that dry a little bit. Get your longest piece of wire you have that's more easier to work with, and I kind of hook it, and then I'll go in here where there's this frame on this basket, has a wire coming up here in the middle and then over here, and I go in there and loop my wire on my bow here through that, so keep my bow from sliding around. I mean, you could tie it off on a piece of the grapevine stem or the top of the wire frame, but I just like to put it around the one that's more vertical. Get your needle nose pliers and grab that end piece in there and pull it towards you, fish that through there. It's hard to see. I probably should work with a thicker wire. Slide as well as it usually does. I think there's probably some glue back up in there that it was sliding along and grabbing it. Some dried glue. Twist that up. And here's what I feel bad. See how much when I cut it, see how much I've got wasted. That much. Probably a couple inches of two pieces. I don't know if I could reuse that on something else. You can take your pliers and grab that piece you trimmed off and bend it, poke it back down inside your basket so that won't stab somebody's fingers. Okay, I need to go ahead and put some foam back in there so that way when I work on my loops on my bow, I won't have to try to clean off all the little moss pieces again. They used to offer another type of moss in the store. I think they still do. It's more of a thicker, grassier style, real more natural looking than this color of green. And I liked it better. I was always getting it in the beginning, and then they quit a few years back and started just only giving it to you in a smaller bag, and it was thicker, more coarser. It wasn't so pliable. So I just reverted to using this. And in this style arrangement, it probably would be just as fine if you went with the other color of Spanish moss that's more of a grayed out color, because it's, you know, the fall season, instead of using this color of green. But when I went to look at my picture that I had done, I used this color of green, so I didn't want everything to look too dried out, dead looking colors. Even though that's what fall foliage is, it's more turning from summer to cold dead of winter. It's going through that stage, transitioning, drying up. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm just applying a little bit of glue back here on the ribbon. And I need to trim that piece of stick off that basket so they start wanting to poke in the wrong direction. Stab you. Okay, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue back here. That way it won't shift around on me so much and my bow will stay in place. I mean, you'll always have to fluff it back up somewhat, but not, you won't have to mess with it as much. I don't know if you can see what it's starting to turn out like. I may have to go back in here and work it some more before I ship it off. So I'm going to end my video now because this video is getting way too long. There you go, guys. Make your own. Bye.